Hello, I'm Dave Kelly speaking to you from Hill, New Hampshire, a small community on the Pemmican in our state's Lakes region. I've been honored to serve on this year's Symposium Planning Committee. I want to take just a moment to thank all the efforts of the committee put in to make this a reality. To say that going virtual with this symposium was a bit outside of a few people's comfort zone might be an understatement. However, the devotion and determination of the committee to help patients with ALS in our region allowed them to expand their experiences into the virtual world. I am a retired science teacher, and I am an ALS patient, experiencing all the valleys and peaks which comes with this disease. My angel of a wife and caregiver, Pamela, has also served on the committee, and the two of us hope the time we spent can help in some small way to help all the other patients and caregivers. The ALS journey has certainly opened my eyes to the need for excellent accessibility design. I cannot tell you how excited I am to hear from our next speaker. Jill Johanan is a Maine licensed architect who specializes in accessible and universal design at Alpha One. As part of the Independent Living Center at Alpha One, Access Design has been the core service of Alpha One for more than 20 years, providing ADA technical assistance, training, consulting, and designing facilities for universal access. Before joining Alpha One, she was employed as a project designer for a large architectural and engineering firm in Maine. She has design and construction experience in public and private building projects, with a focus on educational and universal design campus facilities for users of all abilities. Her strong accessibility background has been developed from working with children and adults with disabilities while studying architecture in college. It is my great privilege to introduce Jill Johanan.
Great. Thank you, David. Thank you for having me today. That was a nice introduction, and just want to go over a few things that I hope to touch on today about looking at your homes. We're going to look at entrances, vertical access, bathrooms, bedrooms, and kitchens. And I just want to, again, remind everyone that every individual is different and every home is different. So things in here may not work for your home. They may be something to think about, something to share with another friend or family. And it definitely takes a team effort between your care partner, your care coordination team. Take advantage of the local resources as much as possible. So we'll try to touch on those items today. A little bit about Alpha One as Maine Center for Independent Living. Accessibility consulting is the big thing that I do, but also want to let you know what else we do for anyone that lives in Maine. We have an agribility program for farmers. So if you do live on a farm, that's also a resource to help. We have an adaptive loan program. We have a driving program and care services. That's our big thing. And we also have grants, which we'll talk a little bit about for ramps. Those are just a few things that we do, and we are here for information resource. So if you have any questions beyond what we talk about today, feel free to contact us and we will try and find the answer for you. So if you're not in Maine, some other independent living centers are on the screen for New Hampshire and Vermont with their phone numbers. So that's the Granite State Independent Living Center and the Vermont Center for Independent Living. If you are not in Maine, New Hampshire, or Vermont, there's a link below on the slide for the Independent Living Research Utilization, and that is where you can find your local independent living center. So every state is required to have one. Some bigger states have more than one. Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, we're small, so we only have one. We have multiple offices throughout our states, but just one organization. So we are a great resource if you have any questions and need more ideas. The other nice thing about Vermont and Maine is that we are also the affiliates for the New England ADA Center. In New Hampshire, it's the Governor's Commission on Disability. The phone numbers are on this slide. So if you're out and about in the community and you have a question about accessibility in a business or a restaurant, or someone tells you they're grandfathered, which it's not in the ADA, you're welcome to call us, contact us. There's also the group in Boston, which is the base for the New England ADA Center. They are a great resource to help with ADA technical assistance resources. So please contact us if you have any questions about public businesses, parks, anything in your community to help improve access to keep you independent and active in your community. If you're watching this from outside of New England, there is a region by you. There's 10 regions across the country. So if you call the 1-800 number anywhere in the country, it'll direct you to the local ADA center. Again, there are people there to help with questions, with resources. Not every center has an architect on staff. So if your center doesn't have one and you have a question, you're still welcome to reach out to me. I just had a call the other day from a University of New England graduate who's now in Alaska. So happy to help however we can, and we all work together if we get stuck or need help. So again, that's website is adata.org. Lots of resources there. So now I just want to talk about people as we move into looking at homes. So on this slide is an example of different people using different mobility devices. So there's an example of a person using crutches, a person using a walker, potentially a rollator, a service animal, and then a top view of a manual wheelchair. All of these dimensions are very similar width. We're looking at a minimum of 32 inches. This is just an idea to let you know what we're looking for. So it's not just wheelchairs. If you can get more space, it's going to be helpful. But this is basically what we're looking for. Below are some example of images of people that also benefit from this width. So you have parents with strollers, parents holding hands with children, people again using service animals or things like segways. And yes, there are people who turn green like me when they walk into a business and see an accessibility problem and get upset, but we're going to try and change that. So also wanted to review mobility devices, just for people that are aware. So under the ADA and the law, a wheelchair is any manually powered or power-driven device that is designed for people with disabilities for use indoor, outdoor. They can go anywhere that the public is welcome. Now on the bottom are other power-driven mobility devices. And this might be something that you find helpful to get around in your yard, in your community. They have some different limitations in the communities and public buildings, but just want to let you know that there are things out there. So a couple examples in the picture are segways, again, that people are using as mobility devices. There's also an image of a track chair. It has little tracks on it, kind of like a tank. That's used a lot on farms or out in the woods for hunting. And also an accessible golf cart. So if you find something that works for you that's not a scooter or a power wheelchair, maybe that will be good. Just know that in your community it may have some limitations in some businesses. Speaking of transportation, I wanted to also share this quote from a group that specializes in universal design in New Zealand called LifeMark, where they're comparing cars to homes. It says car manufacturers constantly innovate. There's a focus on the consumer, on ergonomic studies are done to make cars easy to use. Safety features feverishly multiply with even modest cars now containing features once only found in luxury vehicles. Voluntary safety rating system is proudly promoted and fuel efficiency statistics are freely available. The competitor innovates, you follow or get left behind. So why aren't we doing this with our housing? Hopefully we can change this. Hopefully more people will demand that housing becomes more innovative like cars. So one example is the image on the left. This is an example of stacked closets. So if you have a home that is multi-story, if you're thinking of building new or you know family or friends that are building a new house, please encourage them to think about stacking closets in the design. That way in the future, if they ever need to put in a residential elevator or lift, it's ready to go and you can stay in your home. And we will talk about more examples like that as we get through this program. So we want to start with entrances. Being able to get in and out of your home safely is one of the most important things. So we want to look at different aspects of getting in and out of your home. On the left are two examples of before and after of a home in Portland, Maine. Very few steps easily could have been made accessible, but instead had to come through and add a ramp after the fact. And on the right is a home. If you can look and see in the bottom right-hand corner is the shadow of the porch, and it kind of makes it look like a ramp. So sometimes our homes are telling us that we want to be accessible. Now, if you look at your home, one of the first things you can do is handrails. So here I'm suggesting that you add graspable handrails in the examples and the images. This is something that you can quickly grab, hold on to give you stability, make it easier to get up and down stairs. The handrails are extended, so that way you can have something to hold on to before and after you get off the stairs. The handrails are also returned to make sure that you don't have any bags or clothing get caught on the handrails. If you can look at your stairs, either inside, outside, make recommendations to your friends and family at their homes. Say, have you considered adding handrails to make it easier for me to come visit and to use your home? Bottom are a couple examples, again, what's not to do, where we typically have a 2x4 as a handrail, and that's just not very graspable if you quickly need to grab and hold on and support yourself. Some other things you can think about are contrasting stair edges or change in colors, again, like the two pictures on the left-hand side. As we get older, our vision changes. Sometimes having that color contrast will make it easier to make sure we don't trip. Again, looking at the width and looking at the tread heights. Now we want to talk about ramps, because ideally we want something a little safer than just stairs to make it safe and you can stay independent in your home. So we want to look at the space that's available, and the height of the steps determines how much ramp there is. So on the top left-hand side is a picture of oftentimes what we find is people that think they can just do a ramp from straight up to straight down of the steps, and that's very dangerous. And the bottom is another example of a ramp where they had a ramp that, again, was too steep, and we added a ramp off the back. So these are not what you want to do. So we're going to talk about other ways that ramps are going to work. So again, looking at the length of the ramp versus the energy needed to travel. So in the top left-hand image is a ramp in Maine that just is a bit much. We don't want this at your house. Thinking about snow shoveling, safety, that's a lot of effort just to get up to that house. And the bottom right-hand image is a construction issue. You may have a really happy, nice, friendly neighbor that offers to build your ramp, but please make sure they know what they're doing. This ramp started out as a nice, helpful neighbor and just became something out of Dr. Seuss. So just to keep that in mind as you're looking at access to your home. So looking at ramps, Alpha One has a program called Critical Access, and these are temporary ramps for people that qualify financially in Maine. Your independent living center might have something similar or a different program that could help fund this. Sometimes Habitat for Humanity has programs that provide ramps, or other organizations. We wanted to show you this example, a before and after on the left-hand side, to give you an idea of how much ramp you will need at your house based on the number of stairs you have. So it can take up quite a bit of space in your front yard, your side yard, your backyard, wherever it may be. So if you haven't thought about a design of a ramp, I just want to give you this example so you could see the difference of what a basic ramp would look like. Again, it's 1 inch of height for every foot of ramp is required. Another nice thing about ramps is if you can put it in your garage, if you do have an attached 2-car garage or perhaps a large 1-car garage, it gives you weather protection from our lovely winters in northern New England. The only thing to keep in mind is emergency exit, that if you do have to exit the home quickly, make sure that there is a manual door nearby and you're not relying on the overhead garage door. This is actually one of my favorite examples, and the pictures to the left. This is a family that we worked with in Maine that had ALS. and we were able to put the garage in their, their ramp in their garage. And when we came back to go check on them to see how they liked it and make sure they're happy with it, the family told me that the wife now uses the ramp to bring her groceries inside using a cart. The grandchildren like using the ramp, and even the dog starts using the ramp now instead of the stairs. So that was a fun story that never thought about the dog. So. Some other options for ramps are metal ramps. These are some manufacturers that are in northern New England. You can rent them, you can buy them, you can adjust them, you can relocate them. They may have a quicker installation time than a wood ramp. So this is another option to consider if you need access fairly quickly into your home. And I also wanted to review that chairlifts that people might suggest for your home to go over your stairs is often not a safe long-term solution. Thinking about chair glides require multiple transfers. You're going to need a mobility device at the top of the stairs and the bottom of the stairs. And just the concern is one thing to transfer from chair to chair, it's another thing to transfer to a chair at the top of stairs that if you miss or fall, it could be very dangerous. On the bottom image is an example of a platform lift that can go over stairs. These require a little bit more space, and lots of times most of our homes don't have the space to install it. But if you do, for some reason, this is a nice option because it allows you to walk right on with a walker, it allows you to roll right on with a rollator. So just know that these are out there should you have stairs that might accommodate this option. The other option, if you have a very high home, if you have a lot of steps and you don't have the space for a ramp, are vertical platform lifts. So on this slide are a few examples of lifts of how they've been installed beside stairs, under a porch. There's also portable lifts that you can purchase. So these we usually start to look at when stairs are over 4 feet or close to 4 feet, or if there's not space at the home, then we have to look at this option. Again, you can walk onto this with a walker, or you can roll on with a wheelchair. So the other option, if you are doing a renovation or if you're building new, or if you know friends or family that are considering building new, we like to try and encourage sloped walkways. These are usually walkways under 5% slope or 1 to 20 slope. So these are a little bit easier to use than ramps. They do take up a little bit more space, again, if you have the height. There's an opportunity to incorporate landscaping to help screen the ramp or the sloped walkway part. And it allows everybody to take the same route, whether it's your kids or grandkids using bikes, using strollers, wagons. So just something to consider, again, if you are doing an addition or new construction or know somebody that's doing new construction, to encourage this. Here's some other examples of sloped walkways. On the left is a before and after. Other than the snow difference, hopefully the only difference you see, you'd have to look really hard for. That's the idea. If you do have a historic home or a nice home, you can do landscaped ramps, or you can do ramps well. And again, on the right-hand side is an example of another home that had some volunteer labor and materials donated. So it took a group effort, again, trying to make this work so they could have a nice, accessible entrance into their home instead of just putting a ramp on the front. So again, if you're doing new entrance for an addition, the option is to use landscaping, to use the slope walkway, think about where it's going to go, try and use it in the garage as an option if you don't have space in the front or in the side. Again, weather and emergency plan. So the idea is that we want to make sure you can get in and get out of the house safely. Otherwise, everything else you do inside does not have the same effect. Once you get to the entry, again, we want to encourage you to think about weather protection. Provide a place where at exterior doors where you can stand and get out of the rain or snow if it is bad weather. Also, if you do an entrance with a low threshold or no threshold, having weather protection is also good for keeping the rain and snow out of your home. If you can't do that, consider grading to allow things to drip through your porch rather than collect outside your door. We also encourage you to consider putting a shelf or a bench to the side of the door, so that way you have somewhere to set things down, again, as you're opening the door and coming in and out. And also think about lighting to make sure that you've got well-lit areas or something with a sensor, so that way as you're coming home, especially now as it's getting later into the year, as it gets darker, so that way you can still see and be safe. Now, once we're at the door, the thresholds, again, as I mentioned earlier, the idea is low profile door thresholds. We want to get rid of those bumps and trip hazards. So if you can do new, they do make doors that are usually more commercial grade, or you just have to make sure you're talking to your contractor and your supplier to let them know that you're looking for a 1/2 inch maximum threshold. If you have an existing door, there are a couple images on the middle left side that are called threshold ramps. These are different types of products that you can buy. You can even make your own threshold ramp, or if you have someone that's handy. So again, these are for usually if it's only a 1/2 inch or an inch up to 6 or 7 inches. This is a way to get into your house without that step. And on the right-hand side is an example of a person in Germany that even used Legos to make a ramp. So you can get creative, have fun with it, and still make sure it's safe. And then at the door, looking for 36 inches of clearance. If you can get more, 40 inches is even better. Looking to look at the lever hardware. Anything that's operable with one hand with a closed fist is good. So no tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. So the top example images are pocket door pulls by Trimco. So if you're used to your typical pocket door where you have to push it in and pinch it, this is a plate. So you can use your elbow or your palm or a closed fist to open and close the pocket door. If you have an existing door that's a little too tight and you want a little bit more space, they do make things called offset hinges or swing away hinges, which is shown in the bottom left-hand corner. So this is a more affordable option to try before you go and rip out your door frame if you are just short by an inch or two. Otherwise, the next step is to have a contractor, a carpenter, enlarge the size of your door. And on the bottom right-hand image is a graphic illustration from the ADA, just showing you why it's important or helpful to have clearance to the side of the door. So that way, if you are able to open the door with the lever handle, you've got a little bit more space to be able to get up there and pull open the door. Also think about storm doors. If you have them on your house, sometimes the best option is to take them off if possible, just to keep things out of the way. Bottom left-hand corner shows an example of the closer at the bottom. Again, this is going to encroach on your clearance or get damaged as you're coming in and out. If you have to keep a storm door, consider one with a closer at the top and one with lever hardware. The other option is to replace your door like the one on the right-hand image with just an insulated window in the door. Hopefully make it easier for you getting in and out of the house so you have less things to try and hold open or juggle as you're opening and closing doors. All right, the next big thing is bathrooms. The big issues here are making sure you've got a bathroom on the first floor, the main floor, if you don't have a residential elevator. If you are doing bathroom renovations, to do reinforcement on the walls, open floor space around one side of the toilet or both sides, depending on what's comfortable for you. Looking at the flooring, again, the lighting to make sure you can see, contrasting colors at places, full height mirrors to give you flexibility, and the medicine cabinet inside of the sink. So the top left-hand image is an example of an accessible bathroom. So it doesn't have to be very big, like the image of the bottom example. This is from a facility in Maine that if you see a house with or an apartment building with a really big bathroom like this, it doesn't need to be this big. It's quite large. Much rather have the space in your living space or a closet than in your bathroom if you don't need it. So here's two examples of what you traditionally see as a bathroom. On the left-hand side is our standard bathroom that you see in a lot of homes where everything is on the same plumbing wall. The thing about this is that the person in the wheelchair in the image cannot turn around and close the door for privacy behind them. Also be very hard to reach the controls at the bathtub. So it's a little more challenging and not designed for somebody with a mobility device. On the right-hand side is a slightly bigger bathroom where you recess the sink into the alcove. Gives you full access to a shower, full access to the side of the toilet, and maneuvering space so you can turn around and close the door for privacy. So I just want to compare those two examples to show you that it doesn't have to be much bigger. If you have an existing bathroom that you're looking at renovating, one option is to do what's called the wet room example, or some people call it the European bathroom. And this is where you tile a significant part of your bathroom or wherever you're having the shower, and the floor becomes the floor of the shower. You're relying on a shower curtain usually to contain the water, to keep it away from the other fixtures in the bathroom. Another idea you can do is recess the sink in an alcove, like the top left-hand image example. Again, trying to get it out of the way so you increase maneuvering space and access to the shower and the toilet space. Same with the graphic on the right-hand side. And on the bottom left-hand side is an example of a before and after of a bathroom where we took the vanity out and moved it into an alcove across from the shower. So that way you've got lots of maneuvering space for the shower and beside the toilet. At the toilets, something to think about are the bidet seats. There's a few examples in the images on the left. These are products that you can add to your existing toilet. People that do have them love them. Everybody's different, but this is an option that you can add to your toilet that might be helpful. They do have the comfort height toilets to give you a little bit easier access on and off the toilet. Also think about back support if you do want something that you can sit on that is comfortable. So just think about what's behind there. And again, extra clearances for transfer assistance from a care partner. So again, on the bottom right-hand image is an example from the ADA of how a person may transfer onto a toilet. So if you've never been in a bathroom with someone using a manual wheelchair before, that's the reason why the yellow square is there, to make sure you've got space to be able to get to the toilet. If you don't transfer, that space also works well for the care partner or someone to assist you at the toilet. And if you don't need it, you can always put a towel bar there or a cabinet there. It's also nice for parents helping toddlers learn how to potty train too. So there's lots of benefit to having that extra space there if you can make it in your bathroom. Now in the shower, I mentioned earlier blocking. On the left-hand side is an example of blocking. If you can put it on all three sides of the wall or wherever you're doing your shower, that way you've got it there in the future. So if you don't want to put grab bars in now, you can always add them later. And you know the blocking is there, so that way it's going to support the 250 pounds. One of the more expensive things that we find in renovations is going back and trying to add blocking to a shower that was just installed or that's not there. So on the middle image, an example of a towel bar that is also a grab bar. So there are lots of options out there for designs and styles and features. Whatever you like, you can find a grab bar now to meet your design idea and also think about your budget too. I added in here the NFP 101 is a life safety code, which we have in Maine, and it may be in your state as well. Their latest version of the code requires grab bars in all new tubs and showers with thresholds a ½ inch or more. So this is a nice recognition that the life safety code is realizing that grab bars are a safety issue. So in the bottom right-hand image is a campaign from Age Safe America calling the grab bars of the new seatbelts. So hopefully over time, people will have nice grab bars in their showers and bathrooms and treat them just like we do now with seatbelts, and nobody will notice any difference. Again, looking at the shower, one, to design something that's going to give you flexibility. So that way it works for you, it works for other members of your family. On the left-hand side are some test showers from a rehab facility. To give you a comparison of the different things that are out there. Again, these are for people to practice transferring on. So if you're thinking about doing a shower unit, think about that threshold. How low can you get it? Do you have a wood frame floor that you can lower to get it nice, smooth, so you don't have the threshold? On the image on the right-hand side is a shower unit that has a molded seat in the corner. The challenge with these is that it doesn't give you space to get your feet under you to help stand up as you're pushing yourself up. It also could be in the way for a future shower chair. So we just like to keep that in mind to give you self flexibility so things can change as you need to add or modify your bathroom. Another thing with existing bathrooms with roll-in showers, you can again use the threshold ramps. So if you do have a shower that has just a little bit of a threshold and you're finding it's now becoming an issue for you or a trip hazard concern, again, they have products that you can buy and purchase to make a little ramp outside your door. There's also a pool mat type that you can add into the shower if you have a threshold in the inside. So there's different products that you can use to try and minimize the threshold of the trip hazards and make it safer for you in the bathroom, and also to reduce your effort to save your energy and again make it safe. If you don't have this space to make your bathroom accessible, there's a small image on the top right-hand corner of a portable shower. So this is always an option that if you need something quick, or if your bathroom just is not going to fit, this is a product that is out there, maybe an option for you. And it could be a good thing to care cost-wise if you are considering renovations. So no, those products are out there and it is an option if need be. Again, looking at rolling showers, looking for comfort and also something to meet your style and your budget. So on the left-hand side are a few examples of different types of roll-in showers. Everything from tile to granite walls to teak floor, or you can get simple fiberglass wall units as well that you can come in panels that you can install in your bathroom. Again, just make sure you're clear with the contractor and the person that you're purchasing it from, what your intent is and what your need is to make sure it's the right product for you and that it's going to work and be installed correctly. That's the worst thing that we find is that something gets installed wrong, and that's usually when I get the call and it's too late. Once you're in your shower, to look at shower controls, we definitely encourage the handheld shower option and a fixed shower head, again, to give you flexibility, so that way it works for you and the other members of your family. So a few examples on the left-hand side of different shower controls that you can get and purchase. And again, if you are purchasing a unit or working with a contractor, make sure you're coordinating where the shower controls go. On the bottom right-hand side, we often find people will buy the units with the bench that's already built in. This is sometimes a folding bench that can fold up and get out of the way, which is required by the ADA. But as you can see in this image, the shower controls are in the wrong location. And unless you're a really tall basketball player, there's no way you can reach those controls. So again, it's really important to talk with your contractor, talk with this building supplier, and make sure you've got the controls going in the right location and they're going to work and be comfortable and safe for you. All right, and looking at your sinks, again, this is not a public restroom, so don't let a contractor or designer, someone try and get you a small lav like the image on the left-hand side. This is your bathroom that you're using every day for your soap, your contacts, your razor, your toothpaste. So if you don't have this space, there are small sinks out there that have nice flat countertops. If you don't have the space, the bottom right-hand image is an example of a single lever faucet control. So that way, again, you're maximizing your counter space and you're not going to knock things off your sink as you're trying to turn on and off the water. So lots of options out there depending on how much space you have and what look you like. So again, here's another example of a before and after. Again, a small sink that they use tension rods to support. They were able to take that out, replaced it with a sink that had a little bit more counter surface space. So now the homeowner can roll right under, brush her teeth, and be independent, and it fits with the style of their house as well. Some other examples of sinks and counters if you are looking at doing a renovation. So again, encourage you to provide the knee and toe space. So if you do use a manual or power wheelchair, you can roll right up, wash your hands, brush your teeth, and spit in the sink. Again, the lever controls, offsetting the drains at the back to give you that space. The other nice thing about having an open knee space in the center image on the bottom is that it gives you a great space to store trash or a child's stool. So as toddlers are learning to wash their hands, you can store that stool under there and make it work for them, hopefully better too. All right, so once you're in the bathroom, or maybe it is your bedroom as well, ceiling lifts. There are different applications for different homes. So depending on where you want to get to from point A to point B, how much space you want to get to, you can get really, really fancy, or you can keep it really simple. So the images on the left-hand side are just a few examples of how you can provide ceiling lifts in your home. Can be wall-mounted, that just gets you from your chair to a bed. It can be across the room. It can be added from the structure. So if you don't have, or if you have an older house that doesn't have a lot of roof structure that you would be concerned about, you can go from wall to wall. On the top right-hand image is an example of a lift that actually can go through the door. So if you're if you have a really small bathroom and you can't get through the door, maybe you transfer outside the door and the lift can just swing you in onto the toilet or into the shower. So there are different products out there available depending on your situation and what you're looking for. And then beyond that, once you're looking at, again, bathrooms or kitchens, there are different storage items out there. We encourage you to do the pull-out systems as much as possible. Nobody wants to bend down low or can't reach anything in the back of the cabinet. So there's nice common products out that are now pull-out to bring things to you. The bottom left-hand image is a closet rod that you can pull down. So again, if you have limited space in your bedroom or in your apartment somewhere, there are products out there that help make it easier for you to get more storage space within your reach range if you are seated in a scooter or a chair. On the right-hand side is an example of the reach range that we're looking for to make it easy if you are seated from a position. So it's the 48 inches is the maximum height and 15 inches is the minimum height. Also think about furniture, looking at your bedroom. So lots of times our beds these days and our mattresses are super high. So maybe can you change your bed? Can you take out the box spring, or are you in need of a new mattress that's maybe a little bit thinner? The idea is to get a bed height that's similar to a seat height or a chair height, about 18 to 19 inches or so, because lots of times people that I work with say it's easiest to transfer when it's the same height or lower. So if you have a really high bed, it might make it just a little bit harder for you to get in and out of the bed. So just something to think about in your bedroom, looking at the furniture as well to make sure you've got maneuvering space around the bed to your bureau, your dresser, whatever you may have in there. Something else is light switches, again, 24 to 48 inches. If you're doing renovations, make sure they're within your reach range, or so you don't have to bend down or too close to the floor. On the right-hand side are example of rocker switches. These are just a nice thing that's a little bit easier for someone that has trouble using smaller items. They're nice, you can hit them easily with your hand or your elbow if need be. Then the kitchen, some examples of things that you can do if you are considering changing your kitchen or some parts of your kitchen. If you really like to cook, a pot filler is recommended. This is a faucet that's over the stove or the cooktop. So that way you're not carrying a heavy pot of water from the sink. The center right-hand side also has a mirror that if you've got the space to consider putting a mirror there if you have trouble seeing into the pot. That's a low-cost option to help make it easier for you to continue cooking. Looking at your range in your cooktop, again, having the controls at the front or the side, so that way it's safer for you. You're not reaching over across hot surfaces as you're cooking. Having knee space under the cooktop is nice for a stool to sit on as you're cooking the meal. So some other examples. And then there are adjustable height counters if you want to get really fancy, but a more affordable option is a manual or a powered sit-stand desk. These are becoming really common with workspaces today. So I've given an example here of IKEA's has one. This might be the table that you're using for dining surface, or it could be your countertop. So as your abilities change, you can adjust it to make sure it's always comfortable for you. It's adjustable for other members of your family or guests that are coming. So just something to consider as a more affordable option as you're learning or trying to experiment with what's going to be comfortable and safe for you. A few examples of appliances. Again, either raising your dishwasher. You don't have to buy the expensive drawer dishwasher. If you can raise your dishwasher, you can lower your microwave. You can raise your oven. So there's different things that you can try and do to get creative with common appliances in your kitchen to make it safer and more comfortable. Again, on this slide is more examples of storage that pulls out to you. Pantry style storage gives you reach range for anybody, hopefully can reach a shelf that's comfortable for you, and putting storage items in drawers. Making sure you've got D-pull or loop shape pulls, again, just to make it easier to pull the drawer or open the cabinet if your hands start to have trouble grasping or pinching things. Again, here's some examples of kitchens that are accessible. On the left-hand side is accessible and non-accessible. Very similar designs that can be attractive depending on your style and your taste. Again, different height countertops, open knee space. So that's a lot of information going through really quickly, just hopefully to try and give you an idea. So on this slide is again a reminder of the independent living centers in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, and also the link if you are outside of Northern New England. So as a real quick run through, and hope I didn't go too fast, but I hope I covered enough to give you some ideas to think about and discuss with your family.
Jill, it was a ton of information, but I think it was holistic in that people who came to this talk probably had some different expectations, and I think you probably hit on many of them. And I'm gonna, before I go into the questions, I'm just gonna remind folks that this, like our other sessions, are going to be saved. So when you're thinking about making some changes in your home, you can pull this up again and be reminded. And then for folks, no matter what, which of our Northern New England states you're checking in from, these contacts here on the screen right now will be your resources, and often some really great free resources in regards to making your home more accessible. So Jill, thank you ever so much. I know we have one question from David in regard to metal ramps. So let me read that. In Maine, we have lots of very cold weather and snow. I'm assuming outdoor steel ramps are not recommended, or are there ways to manage ice on these ramps? And that's from David Doan.
Yes, that is a great point, David. Thank you. That is the one challenge I've heard about the metal ramps. You can either get the solid metal aluminum ones, or you can get open grate metal. So the challenge I've heard from the installers is that they are harder to maintain in the winter. Excuse me. So that is the one challenge with the metal ramps, that they could be a little slippery as soon as you get a little bit of frost on them. Again, the metal ones do have tracks on them to try and help with stability. But that is a good point and something that you do need to consider if you are looking at a metal ramp. So
great question, David. Yes. Just a comment from Roger, very informative and helpful information. Thank you. And I'm not seeing any more questions at this time. Folks, be sure to reach out to Care Services if after the fact you've got questions either for Jill or our other independent living centers. So Jill, thank you again. Thanks to you and Alpha One for being such great partners. Your information, the support from our independent living centers is invaluable. And so I'm just going to remind folks that it's 12:15. You actually get a break for about a half hour. Please visit our expo booths. Remember that when you're in the booths to talk with any of the folks, all you need to do is go to the join meeting button. It's there so that you can interact with folks. I also want to remind you, the people who are in the expo when you join a meeting are the people who you would be speaking with if you call them. They're the people who would be coming out to your home to help you. So please be sure to visit, ask them questions. And then I'm just going to remind folks, we come back at 12:45. I want to leave you with a little bit of a tease. Take advantage of the break, but do come back for 12:45 as we will start the afternoon session with this week's personal journey moment. We will see you then.